Hello, this is Sierra and welcome to another video. Today we're reading chapter 1 of the Clockwork Plan. This is a pilot episode trying to see whether or not I'm just revamping a newer version of the first 4 books of the Clockwork Chronicles and letting myself reread them so that anyone who does want to listen to them, who's come by much later, can do that, and for those Stampy fans who want nostalgia, I guess. Because that's the whole thing. But yeah, captions are available for the chapter if you want to listen along and watch. But if you don't, that's also fine too. Let's get right in. Chapter 1. The bell rang through the halls of the school building, signifying the end of class, and the end of another school day. Sam, a young 16-year-old boy, watched patiently in his desk. He waited for most of his classmates to file out. He didn't mind sticking behind for a little bit. Darrell really didn't want to get in the middle of all the pushing and shoving that would ensue in the halls. His classmates were eager to get out of the school, and he really couldn't blame them for that. After a few minutes passed and most of the kids had left the classroom, the boy grabbed his bag and pulled it over one shoulder as he got out of his desk and looked around the empty room, glad to know that he didn't have to worry about school. Well, at least for a little while. That was, he did have to walk home to relax before he had to go back to schoolwork, known as homework, studying, which was something his father wanted him to do all day, every day, when he and his younger brother, Liam, were home. Sam sighed as he shook his head, walking over to the door as he looked both ways, making sure the route to his locker was clear. Once he knew it would be relatively safe, he stepped into the hallway, looking around the area carefully, trying to make sure that he wouldn't be caught by surprise. Luckily for him, no one tried to plow him over or push through. He was glad about that. It didn't take long for the boy to get to his locker, putting his bag down to ease some weight off his shoulder. Who knew school bags could be so heavy? He opened the bag and rummaged through his things, finding what he knew he wouldn't be needing after school. He opened his locker and stored the extra binders and folders, pushing some things aside to make room in the cluttered space. But as he was finishing, something caught his eye. He looked up and noticed a small piece of paper sticking out from one of the binders. But it wasn't the type of paper that one would take notes on. It was slightly darker and looked rougher. But why was it there? Who could have put it there? Sam looked at the piece of paper curiously, unsure whether or not he should take it. It almost appeared to be the kind of paper that would be used in art class. But he didn't know anyone who took art, or much less give him anything. He was just an ordinary kid in a not-so-important school. Why would anyone want to give him something? Was this supposed to be a joke? One of his friends were playing on him? I just couldn't be sure. Apologies for the background noise. Rambunctious husky puppy. The boy hesitated for a moment before looking over his shoulder to make sure no one was watching. Sure enough, everyone else was far too busy worrying about getting home or other activities rather than him. He was a nobody to them, and he was just fine with that, especially if it meant staying out of trouble. He reached out and carefully took the piece of paper, careful not to rip it, as he cautiously went to unfold it. The paper was crisp and rough on his hands, and it didn't seem to have a signature on it. But as he opened it, he found himself pondering even more. His questions rushed into his mind. He took a closer look, just to make sure he was seeing things correctly. Sure enough, the piece of paper had a picture on it. And it was a very intriguing picture of that. It was that of a blue clock. Gosh, how did I not catch that the first time around? It says cloak. It's meant to be clock. Huh. Which had 4 tick marks, kind of like a compass. But unlike a compass, it had 2 hands, one pointing up and the other pointing to the boy's right. It looked like a right angle, and if the boy wanted to, he could fit a small square in between the 2 lines. But what could it mean? Why was it here? Who put it in his locker? He couldn't be so sure. Sam let out a frustrated sigh as he shook his head. He needed to deal with all these questions later, preferably not when everybody else could see him, and he didn't want to keep his friends waiting. He carefully folded the piece of paper back as it was meant to be and put it into his pocket, planning to look at it when he got home, and away from prying eyes and from the prying eyes of his father. All he wanted was time to have a little fun, and perhaps try to figure out this mysterious puzzle. He just wasn't sure what it could mean. Not yet, anyway. As he stood up and closed his locker, grabbing his bag and putting it back over his shoulder, he suddenly felt something strange. An uneasy feeling that he couldn't explain. Sam shook his head, convincing himself that he was only imagining things, as he walked down the hallway, maneuvering himself around his peers as he did so. His friends would be waiting for him at the entrance, and hopefully they could do something together before he and his brother would be forced to return home. He doubted it would happen, though. It so rarely did these days, and he hated it. All he wanted was the freedom to be himself. But he couldn't because school obviously was more important than play. Sam let out another sigh as he spotted the end of the hallway, noticing that the crowd of kids was only growing, and he could hear the voices getting more and more intense. He wasn't sure he liked it, but what else could he do? It wasn't like he could tell them to be quiet. They'd probably ignore him anyway, just like his father did every time he tried to explain to him that he was tired of all the studying and school stuff. Summer wasn't even spared anymore. He still had to make sure he remembered all the useless stuff that he already knew. It was so annoying. But his thoughts were interrupted when he saw his friends ahead, waiting by the doorway as they always did. He couldn't help but smile as he saw them, glad to know that at least some things never changed. Well, not too much anyway. You finally decided to come in here, a tall boy said, crossing his arms with annoyance. His olive-colored skin matched well with his wavy black hair and stormy gray eyes. What took you so long? It doesn't really matter. I'm here now, Sam said matter-of-factly, looking around them before adding, we should get somewhere quieter. Probably a good idea. A boy that was slightly shorter than him said. His bright blue eyes sparked with an eagerness to get outside as he brushed away a ginger curl from his eyes. The taller boy sighed and shook his head, leading the way outside, where it was quieter and calmer, but Sam had a feeling that something wasn't quite right. But he could be sure what it was. So does anyone want to take a short trip to the park today? The ginger-haired boy asked the other 2 friends. I'm busy, Liam, the taller boy said. My parents have some chores for me. Oh, that sucks, the third boy said. He was a short but considerate kid with dark brown hair and eyes, which matched the skin tone of his face. Back then I didn't know how to It's better now. Don't worry about it. At least it's better than studying, the tall boy said, rolling his eyes in disgust. It's not our fault that our father values education over fun, Connor, Liam said simply. I'm not saying it is, Connor said casually. Sure sounds like it, Sam pointed out. Connor scoffed. I need to go. Sorry to disappoint you guys, but I have better things to do than to deal with two school-loving boys and an orphan. Take that back! Liam snapped as Sam noticed the shorter boy, Brian wince. Brian had lost his parents at a very young age, young enough where he couldn't remember them. He had been taken in by his grandparents, who had been taking care of him for most of his life, but that didn't mean it was easy. Connor shrugged and shook his head. Right now, I need a break from all the school stuff. We all do, Sam replied. You're just lucky enough to have the chance to. Connor smirked. That I do. See you guys around. See you, Sam said, waving at Connor as he watched his friend walk away. The uneasy feeling he felt inside only grew, hating just how cold Connor had been ever since his dad had decided to ensure that he had as little fun as possible. He didn't seem to care how hard they tried to include him, to have him even a little fun. He never did understand just how hard they were trying. Just that it wasn't hard enough. You okay, Brian? Liam asked, shifting Sam's attention back to his other friends. Brian nodded and looked up, catching Sam's eyes. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm sure he didn't mean it, Sam reassured his friend. Pretty sure he did, Brian sighed, shaking his head. But I'm clear. Really. He's right about the orphan part, but that doesn't make me inferior. I have you guys. Yeah, Liam nodded, looking over at his brother. Is there anything you need to do today? Sam asked the younger boy. Your grandparents need your help with or something? It's pretty rough, you know that, Brian said quietly. Sorry, but I can't do it today, but I do hope you guys have fun. I'm sure we will, Liam said with a smile. Want us to walk you home? Brian hesitated. But isn't that out of your way? For a friend, Sam said, putting a hand on his friend's shoulder. Nothing more, nothing less. You guys are awesome, you know that? Brian said with a smirk. Yeah, we know, Sam replied with a nod. The three of them began to walk through the town, passing by rows and rows of shops and stores until they came to the place where the houses would be. His mind wandered as he rounded another corner, heading into the neighborhood, knowing which house that Brian lived in. It didn't take long before they got to Brian's house, and the two brothers walked him up to the door. After wishing their friend well, Sam found himself walking beside his brother, who was only a year younger than him. You're pretty quiet today, Liam admitted to his brother, looking over at him with a look of curiosity. Is everything all right? Yeah, everything's fine, Sam said quickly. Just thinking. About what? Liam asked, raising an eyebrow. Sam shook his head. A lot of things, really. I guess I'm a little tired, both physically and emotionally. Is there any way I can help? Liam offered. You already are, Sam said with a small smile, as they turned another corner and entered the center of town, heading toward the park. That's good, Liam said, returning the smile as they walked past more shops, entering the entrance of the park, which was full of lush trees and bushes and paths that wound around the small forest that they knew well. Sam couldn't help but remember the good times they had all as friends. They had as friends. There you go. In the park. All the games of hide and seek, all the silly conversations and laughs they had. They had so much fun back then. Changed. Well, a lot did, really. He wasn't sure how he should feel about it. Sam led his friend and brother down a path, knowing where he wanted to go, where he knew could help clear his mind, even if it was a little bit. He could feel the paved dirt under his feet, hearing the familiar crunch as he left his mark. Nature cleared his mind, and it got him away from all the chaos that life demanded of him. He wasn't sure what else he wanted to do, but just simply taking a hike in a familiar place seemed like the perfect idea right now. But as he walked, he couldn't help but let his mind wander back to what he had found back in his locker. His picture in his pocket. Definitely something he hadn't seen before. Had someone given it to him as a gift? But who would have made that? Did someone drop it by his locker and it was put in? Someone else thinking it was his? He didn't know. But if he ever did find who made the picture, he or she would certainly have a few questions to answer. Unless, of course, it was a pure misunderstanding and all of this was just a normal picture misplaced by one of his peers. He couldn't be sure though, which unnerved him. You think you'll be alright? Liam asked, bringing his brother back to reality. What? Sam asked, puzzled and confused. Right, Liam said quietly. Do you think you'll be okay after what Connor said? I know he said he would be fine, but you saw how he was when Connor said it. He seemed to regret it. Connor is just frustrated, Sam said simply. I think Brian knows that. He's strong and confident. There isn't much that anyone can do to bring him down, only for him to get back up again. He's been through a lot more than anything Connor has done or said. I guess you're right, Liam sighed. But why does Connor have to make things so difficult for us? We already have to do everything we can to get a break from Dad, and we tried so hard to spend time with them, only for Connor to push it aside like it isn't worth anything. He shakes. I loved it. He shook his head in frustration. And the worst part is, he complains about how we aren't spending enough time with them afterward. How does that make any sense? I don't know, Sam admitted sadly. I'm sure he'll see it soon enough. We hope you're right, Liam replied. Me too, Sam said. I think we're almost at the end of the trail now. Which means we need to get home soon, Liam said, shaking his head. All I wanted was to have some fun with friends, to have a good time before we all come back home. Back to reality. You have me to do that, though, Sam said with a smile. You know what I mean, Liam said with a laugh. I mean, he laughed. Yeah, Sam nodded. I just wish Dad would see it too. School is important. I get that. I just hate having to do the stuff that won't matter later in my life. You've tried talking to him? Liam asked. Yep. And you know how well that went down. Sam sighed. I'm supposed to be the responsible one. The one you look up to. Liam laughed. I do look up to you, but not in the ways that he thinks. I'm not another you. Well, of course not, Sam said with a nervous chuckle. And I'm glad about that fact. They said nothing more as they entered the clearing, and Sam could see what looked like a bench between two trees, the branches twisting and mingling with one another. They were intertwined with one another, inseparable. You remember this place, don't you? Sam asked, looking at his brother as he said it. Like it happened yesterday, Liam nodded with a smile. It looks really nice today, though. Someone must have come in to trim down the shrubbery. It's perfect, Sam nodded. And one of the few things that haven't changed. I couldn't agree more, Liam replied as he walked over to the bench before looking back. Want to have a seat? Yeah, of course I do, the older boy said as he went over to the bench and sat down, Liam sitting beside him as they looked out to the world that hid them from the chaos outside. It was breathtaking, beautiful. It felt like they had been sitting there for forever before the older boy finally looked up at the sky, noticing that the sun was just behind the trees. It was mid-afternoon. They needed to get home. Liam seemed to be thinking the same thing, seeing as he stood up and looked back at the boy he'd known all his life. Ready to get back home? Liam asked, raising a curious eyebrow. I am, if you are, Sam agreed, standing up, looking towards the path, part of him not wanting to go. He wanted to stay here, where he could be content and relaxed. He wanted to have a break from all the studying and school he knew he would have to do. There's no escaping responsibility. You okay? Liam asked, noting his brother's hesitation. Yeah, I'm okay, Sam sighed, looking at his brother at last. Let's get home. And that is where we're going to end the episode for this week. I don't know about next week. It depends on if enough people want more. I guess I could say 10 likes on the video, because 10 likes on the video and I'll do chapter 2. I don't know. Maybe 20. But I hardly ever get 10 at all anyway. So, yeah. Apart from shorts and some videos that have definitely blown up that are technically greenhouse videos. They didn't intend to be, but they are. Some of them were intended to be, though, so yeah, it's fine. But yeah, and that doesn't matter. This is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know any comments. Would you like me to read through beforehand and edit so that you revamped, like an official revamp, or would you just like me to reread it? Of course, changing certain pronouns when need be. If you know, you know. But, yeah. But I am going to have to point out that later down in the series, there's going to be a lot of nostalgia. So, yeah. You can come for that, or not. Or if you're just a Hermitcraft fan trying to figure out what this series is about, this is a good place to start. I don't know if I'll go through season Clockwork the same as well. Probably. Like, I can't write out Stress, but I could definitely write out the other guy. But, yeah. That's fine. The one cameo he had is just in the first book. First story. Ay. But, that's it. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.